Like the changes that we've made, I say the door is open and you can leave.
I beg of the government to be big, to accept that this was rushed through.
Did Keir Starmer just throw British farmers under the tractor? Jeremy Clarkson thinks so, and he's got 2 million angry Brits backing him up. But what's the real story behind Starmer's alleged betrayal? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. In the next few minutes, we'll break down Clarkson's explosive claims, Starmer's stammering response, and the dark secret that's got the nation up in arms.
Feeling the pressure, because I think there's a petition that's currently online of 1.9 people who want the election to go again.
I'm not surprised that many of them want a rerun. That isn't how our system works.
Get ready for a political roller coaster that'll make your head spin. Jeremy Clarkson's recent takedown of Starmer's agricultural policies has sent shockwaves through Britain's farming communities. At the heart of the controversy is the Labour government's new inheritance tax on farmland, a policy that threatens to upend generations of family farming tradition. The tax targets agricultural land valued over $1 million, a figure that might sound high to city dwellers, but fails to account for the complex financial realities of farming. As Clarkson pointed out, Starmer's leadership has been nothing short of a disaster. He's more focused on maintaining appearances than addressing the root causes of the UK's problems. This sharp criticism highlights the growing disconnect between Starmer's promises and the harsh reality facing farmers. While Labour pledged to support rural communities, their actions tell a different story. Farmers now face the prospect of losing land that's been in their families for centuries, all because of a tax they simply can't afford to pay. The numbers are staggering. Estimates suggest that a substantial number of family farms could face financial ruin if the tax is enforced as planned. It's not just about losing property, it's about destroying livelihoods and erasing a vital part of Britain's cultural heritage. Rural community leaders are speaking out. One farmer, echoing the sentiments of many, said, "The countryside is watching and they're not happy with what they see." This growing unrest is more than just grumbling. It's a sign of a deep-seated anger that's been brewing for years.
Farmers who are stuck at home today, paralysed by a fog of despair over what's been foisted upon them. I beg of the government to be big, to accept that this was rushed through.
But here's where things get really interesting. During a live TV appearance, Clarkson dropped a bombshell that's left many Brits reeling. He claimed that Starmer's inheritance tax policy isn't just misguided, it's part of a larger, more sinister plan. According to Clarkson, Starmer is deliberately sacrificing British farmers to serve European interests.
Jeremy Clarkson has pushed back against calls for him to become more involved in politics, calling for the government to rethink their inheritance tax changes. But Clarkson now says that he'd be a terrible political leader. The former Top Gear presenter helped organise the mass agricultural protest in London on Tuesday.
This explosive allegation has set social media ablaze. If true, it would mean that while UK farmers struggle to keep their heads above water, their European counterparts are benefiting from redirected subsidies. It's a claim that strikes at the heart of British sovereignty and has many questioning Starmer's true loyalties. As the dust settles from Clarkson's revelation, public outrage is reaching a fever pitch. A petition demanding action has gained unprecedented momentum, with signatures pouring in from across the country. It seems that Starmer's agricultural policy might just be the straw that breaks the camel's back, pushing an already dissatisfied public to demand real change. 2 million signatures and counting. It's a figure that would make any politician nervous. But for Starmer, it might just be the beginning of his troubles.
There would be plenty of people who didn't want us in the first place. So look, what I focus on is the decisions that I have to make.
Is it 2 million now?
It's now just over 2 million.
Do you feel the pressure?
Look, I remind myself that very many people didn't vote Labour at the last election.
As the petition gains steam, a question looms large. Could this grassroots movement actually force an early general election? The speed at which this petition has grown is nothing short of extraordinary. In just a matter of days, it's managed to capture the attention of millions across the UK. But here's the kicker. Despite its popularity, mainstream media outlets have been oddly quiet about the whole affair. The BBC, usually quick to report on significant political developments, developments has barely mentioned the petition's existence. It's a silence that's raising eyebrows and fueling conspiracy theories across social media platforms. So, what's the deal with petitions and elections in the UK? Legally speaking, a petition alone can't trigger a general election. That power lies with Parliament, requiring either a 2/3 majority vote or a successful vote of no confidence in the government. But don't be fooled. Just because a petition can't directly force an election doesn't mean it's toothless. History shows us that public pressure can lead to significant political change, as we saw with the 2019 petition against the prorogation of Parliament. The demographics of the petition signers tell an interesting story.
Despite going to the polls 5 times in the last 10 years, hundreds of thousands want another election, Commons debate, after more than 700,000 people have signed a petition to hold yet another general election, after a petition was launched accusing the Prime Minister of reversing on his manifesto commitment.
It's not just farmers and rural communities putting their names down. We're seeing signatures from all corners of the UK cutting across age groups and social classes. This isn't just a niche issue anymore. It's tapped into a broader vein of discontent with Starmer's leadership and Labour's policies. Social media has become the battleground for this political showdown. Hashtags like Starmer out and Farmers Revolt are trending, with users sharing personal stories of how Labour's policies have affected their lives. It's a stark contrast to the relative silence from traditional media outlets, highlighting the growing disconnect between established institutions and public sentiment. Political analysts are watching this situation closely, and many are predicting significant consequences for Starmer and the Labour Party. Some experts suggest that if public discontent continues to escalate, it could force Labour to reconsider its leadership and policies. The pressure is mounting, and Starmer's response in the coming days could make or break his political future.
Like the changes that we've made, I say the door is open and you can leave.
That we're going to do the difficult things first, then I think it's inevitable that people do feel their difficult decisions.
As we wait to see how Starmer will react to this growing crisis, one thing is clear: the British public is demanding to be heard. The question now is whether Starmer and his party will listen, or if they'll continue down a path that seems increasingly at odds with the very people they claim to represent. Keir Starmer's leadership crisis is a perfect storm of broken promises, policy missteps, and a growing disconnect from the public. The inheritance tax debacle has become a symbol of Labour's perceived betrayal of rural communities, while Clarkson's explosive allegations have only fanned the flames of discontent. With 2 million signatures demanding change, Starmer's political future hangs in the balance. But this isn't just about one man or one party, it's about the very nature of British democracy. Can a grassroots movement like this petition truly influence the corridors of power, or will it be brushed aside, further widening the gap between politicians and the people they serve? As voters, we have a responsibility to stay informed and engaged. Whether you agree with Starmer's policies or not, this moment serves as a reminder of the power of public opinion. Keep asking questions, challenge your representatives, and make your voice heard, because in the end, it's not just about who sits in number 10, it's about shaping the future of our nation.